Good evening and welcome to another edition of the College Football Playbook. My name is Sean Wilkerson. I'm here to give you an insider breakdown of Week 8 as we are approaching exciting Week 9 of the college football season. Last weekend, what a great weekend of college football. We saw a lot of upsets. We saw Ohio State lose to Purdue. We saw Michigan just straight beat down Michigan State. We saw LSU beat Mississippi State. We saw Oregon get blown out there in Pullman, Washington to those Washington State Cougars. This week, we got a few shakeups in the top 10. We still got Bama, and they look great against Tennessee. They just straight decimated those guys, and Tua looks great. At number 2, we got a good team out there of Clemson. At number 3, we got Notre Dame. At 4, you got LSU. At number 5, we got Jim Harbaugh and those Michigan Wolverines. At 6, you got a good team of Texas. At 7, you got Georgia. At 8, you got Oklahoma. At number 9, you got the Florida Gators. And at 10, you got Central Florida. I must say, it's going to be a great weekend of college football coming up in upcoming weeks. Teams that hurt themselves over the weekend. I would say the biggest one is Ohio State losing to Purdue Boilermakers. That was a huge big-time loss in the Big Ten. Another big-time loss was Michigan State. I feel like Michigan State is like the App State of the Big Ten. They'll sneak up on you and they'll bite you and they'll beat you. Another team that hurt themselves, Mississippi State. Hey, they're trying to prove themselves in the SEC West. Hey, that race is tight out there. I'd say teams that helped themselves over the weekend, I would say it's a big-time win for those Michigan Wolverines. They needed that win. That was a big statement win for the program. Jim Harbaugh and those guys may be ready. They may be locked and loaded, ready to go to finish out the rest of the season. Another big-time win was for Washington State. Washington State is still trying to hold on out there in the Pac-12 North. You know, they still got Washington. They still got Stanford out there. That race is so tight out there. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. As in the Pac-12 South, they got Utah, and they're just licking their chops. Tight races in the conferences. Big 12, Texas is 1. You still got West Virginia. And then you still got Oklahoma. West Virginia still has to play Texas and Oklahoma, which is going to be a tight race. They don't have a conference championship game, which is going to tell a lot out there. Me personally, I think they need a conference championship game, split it up between the North and the South. They may need to add one more team, but hey, I'm not part of the NCAA. I don't merge the conferences or anything like that. That's just my opinion. Out there in the Pac-12, there's a tight race going on out there. I think it's going to be, personally, whoever wins the matchup between Washington and Washington State is going to come out and play Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. Out there in the Big Ten, tight races out there. Michigan, they still got to play Penn State, and they still got to play Ohio State, which is going to be a great game, which to me personally will determine who's going to play either Northwestern or Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. And then in the SEC, you got the game of the week, which would be the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Florida Gators. This game is going to determine each team's fate at the end of the year, you know, especially in the SEC East. You know, you got Kentucky at 1, Florida's at 2, and then Georgia's at 3. Georgia has to win out, or it's to the Capital One Bowl, Chick-fil-A Bowl, they go. I must say, there's going to be a great game over the weekend, the world's largest cocktail party, which is going to determine a lot. Me personally, I think it's going to be either Bama or LSU in the SEC championship game versus a good Georgia Bulldogs team, as Georgia's going to beat Florida in a nail biter. It's going to be a heartbreaker for those Florida Gators, but hey, that's the beauty of the SEC and the college football this season. But me, when Bama and LSU plays, I think that either Bama loses, a heartbreaker, or LSU just gets blown out. And then Bama will play Georgia in the SEC championship game in the rematch. And me, personally, I think that the Georgia Bulldogs will come out victors, because you take out Tua with his bum knee, and you got Jalen with his minor surgery on his ankle. I think it's a wrap for those Crimson Tide down there in Tuscaloosa. In my college football playoff rankings, I got the SEC champ or Bama. And number 2, I still got Clemson. At 3, you got a good team of Notre Dame. At 4, the at-large, the biggest spot in the whole college football playoff would be Michigan. At 5, you got Texas, and at 6, I would say it's going to be the loser of the Georgia and Florida game. But hey, if you would, just leave your comments, and like always, go Dogs.